Today we're going to work on vectors and applying the use of vectors and the vector addition that we talked about yesterday. Just a reminder that vectors are arrows that represent two pieces of information: a magnitude value, the length of the arrow, and a directional value, the way the arrow is pointed. In terms of movement, the information contained in the vector is the distance traveled and the direction traveled. Vectors give us a graphical method to calculate the sum of several simultaneous movements. If the movement is affected by only one variable, represented by vector A or B, then a vessel would arrive at the same end of that vector. If, however, the movement is by two variables, represented by the sum of A and B, then the vessel's position can be found by linking the two vectors together. We're going to see this as I walk you through Vector Voyage 1, so that the second worksheet, Vector Voyage 2, you'll be able to do on your own. We're going to use Google Draw, and we've already embedded the worksheet onto Google Draw so that when we open it, you'll be in that application, which is why we had you practice with Google Draw that first week of school. So first of all, let's look at the Vector Voyage sheet. So when you open Tuesday's page, we're going to click on Vector Voyage 1. It's going to ask you to make a copy, and you want to make sure that you're making your own copy so that you don't change anybody else's. As you can see, we've opened a copy of Vector Voyage 1. So the first thing I want you to do is come up here and type over the word copy with your name. I'm going to put, this is Emerson. I'm going to get rid of the O. This is Emerson's Vector Voyage 1. So as you can see, it's a general, not super specific, shaped view of the Atlantic Ocean. We've got Africa and we've got Spain. England is up here. Canada, the United States, Cuba. And what we're going to do is we're going to think about we're a sailor and a sailor. So you've got to depend on the wind, and the wind's going to affect your direction of movement a little bit. So the first thing we're going to want to do is reading the directions. We're going to say part 1. Your ship can sail 10 squares per month. 10 squares per month would be considered your speed, which would be your magnitude. Starting from Spain and traveling west or bearing 270. This is where we connect graph usage with map usage. Up here we have a reminder that north, south, west, and east are at each of the 90-degree angles and form the coordinate plane. If you're told a wind is blowing northeast, it starts in the center and blows up into quadrant 1. Northwest is into quadrant 2, southwest into quadrant 3, southeast into quadrant 4. So we know we have a ship that's sailing 10 squares per month, and we're going to start from Spain and travel west bearing 270, drawing one vector for each month of travel using your red pencil. And this is why we did it in Google Draw. If you come up here and look at your tabs, this icon can do a line, an arrow, an elbow connector, a curved connector, a scribble. So what we're going to use is we're going to use arrows because vectors are represented by arrows. And we're going to come over here and we're going to put the beginning point of the arrow at this start. And then we're going to move, and we're going to click, and we're going to move our mouse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 units. And you're going to release. Oops. And you're going to release. Notice it's highlighted in blue. So we're going to come up here because it specifically told us that we wanted a red vector. So click on this icon and you can get red. And now notice when you click, you have a red arrow that moves 10 units to the west. And we're going to draw as many as we need to get over to this side of the map and see whether we land in Canada, the United States, down here in Cuba. So we're going to repeat the process. Arrow, click, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Click. Make it red. Why don't you pause the video and go back and make your copy and try to do those steps. Hey, welcome back. Hopefully, if you're reopening the video at this point, you have 2 arrows that take you 1 month, 2 months from Spain towards, looks like we're going to land at the United States. So now let's try again. Click, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Second arrow, or third arrow, sorry. And now let's try one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think somewhere I miscounted because it should have been 6 perfectly. So let's go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a little bit. So let's go ahead and call it 6. Oh no, it should be 5. I'm sorry. It's 5 because that would be half a month, right? Because normally you go 10 squares in a month, so 5 squares would be half a month. So notice we went from Spain to the United States in 3.5 months. So when you come down here, it says, in what country will you make landfall? So we can click text box, and we come and put a text box there, and we can say that we landed in the United States. And hopefully you realize that's about where New York would be located. So USA, New York. Now I am going to change the color of the text also so that it just shows up better, because otherwise it kind of blends in. We can move the box. Oops, I don't want to move the map. I want to move the box. So we can move this box so that it's kind of centered. There you go. Then it says, how many months will it take to reach land? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And because this is 5 squares out of 10, it would be 3.5 months. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go create another text box. We're going to type 3.5 months. Remember, units are important. Again, I'm going to make it blue so that it shows up. And then I'm going to move my box up so that it's as close to the line as possible. Why don't you stop the video here? Make sure that you can get it to be 3.5 months. And then we'll continue and we'll read the second part. Welcome back. We're going to now try to do part 2, and we're going to throw in some wind this time. That first voyage, we didn't have to worry about any wind. So now it says, unfortunately, the wind does not always blow the way you want. To determine how the wind affects our travel, let's include the wind vector. First, draw your ship vector, just like in part 1, using a red pencil. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to make my pencil red. And I'm going to start and I'm going to do another vector. And it's really going to fall right on top of that first vector, isn't it? Because right now we're still not dealing with wind. Now it says, to determine how the wind affects our travel, let's include the wind vector. First, draw your ship vector just like in part 1 using your red pencil. Done. Now at the end of that vector, add the wind vector using your blue pencil. So I've got my vector. I'm going to make it blue. And now I'm going to go, that's where the first month ends. Now draw it with your blue pencil. Sorry, I forgot to jump down here. Down here is what the wind is doing. Month 1, the wind is 2 squares south. So we start here and we come down 1, 2 squares. So there's our blue vector, our wind vector. And for some reason, my vector up there changed back to the black. So now I've got my vector. Well, really, that's the direction and that's the wind. Well, we're going to use vector addition to show what my true path ended up being. My true path wasn't directly west. My true path actually came down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and make my true path. I highlighted the wrong one. That's why I love Google Draw. You can come up here and hit undo. And I'm going to undo again. I'm good with undo. So I'm going to start down here. And I'm going to, again, oh, I know why. Does anybody know why? Because I still have the other vector highlighted. So I'm going to start my vector. And I'm going to come down. I'm going to start my vector. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to actually bring my path down here because that's what a vector addition truly looks like. Vector addition truly looks like your movement component plus your wind component, which brings you down to this spot. So you actually graphed or actually moved in your ship, not directly west, but a little bit southwest. So now let's try it for month 2. Again, your initial movement is supposed to be directly west. So we're going to start here and we're going to move we're going to plot our point here and we're going to go west 10 units. But now we're actually going to have a wind of 4 diagonal square units southeast. So first of all, we're talking about a wind, so we're going to make that blue. You know that I'm technically challenged a little bit here, and using Google Draw is new for me too. So we're going to start here, and we're going to move 4 units diagonal southeast. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want that vector to be blue because it represents a wind. So now here's the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add them together. So if I add that movement together, watch what happens. I got to remember to quit highlighting the vector that I'm at. My true path starts here at this point. Google Draw is not cooperating with me right this minute. And I get it. It's super frustrating, and that's, part of trying to do everything with computers is sometimes a challenge. And we're going to start here. And this is where my actual path would have been. Why don't you pause the video? And it may take you a little bit. Notice it took me a few minutes to get the arrows to work right. But take and pause the video and see if you can get those to work right. Welcome back. Now you've gone 1 month, 2 months. Let's go ahead and try to do month 3, which is going to start at this point. Notice you didn't get quite as far across the ocean this time as we did in the past. So we're going to drop our point, and we're going to go, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. We're going to drop our point, and we're going to go 10 units, which I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units. There's my hopeful motion, which I'm going to take and I'm going to slide it up a little bit where it belongs, except it didn't do that. I am so sorry. There. Should be sitting there. Make it red because that was my intended direction. Now let's see what the wind did to us. For month 3, the wind actually moved us 2 squares to the west. To the west is going to put us, if we start here, 1, 2 squares west, looks like that. Remember, it's wind, so we're going to make it blue. And then we're going to move it down so that it's head to tail, which means my overall path is now right here. So now let's do another red arrow because we're going to go another 10 units. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness. Thankfully, there was no wind. So all I have to do is take my arrow here, place it head to tail. We're going to make it red because that was my intended movement. There's no wind component, so I don't have to change anything this time. So now it says, now where did you make landfall? Well, notice we're still in the United States. So we're going to come here and we're going to click a text box and we're going to put USA. However, this time we landed in Florida. Changing the color to blue so that it shows up. Move it up. Then it says, how many months to reach land? Only count the solid 10 square vectors. So how many months did it take us? 1, 2, 3, 4 months. So we extended our time by about half a month. Changing it to blue. Moving it in place. And you finished your vector voyage. This worksheet you're going to keep for your own reference. So now we're done with this. We're going to save it in our Google Drive. And then we're going to come back over here. And we're going to go back to the page. And now you're going to complete one on your own. Click the link below to make a copy of the second voyage and complete it and answer the questions at the bottom. After you've completed the second vector voyage is when you're going to click here to submit your answers. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please reach out to Miss McClure or I if you have any problems, and have a great afternoon. Thanks.